Hi.
Hello.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock, so I think we'll kick things off. Tēnā koutou, welcome to the Katikati-Waihī Beach Ward Forum, KWB 22 Bar 1. It's been a while since the last forum, so it's good to see you all again. Present we have myself, James Denyer, as chair, and Councillor Sol. I've got John Hollyoake, CEO, in attendance, along with Scott Parker, who's standing in for Gary Allison today. Janisha Osborne, governance support admin, and Horowai Uripa, who's governance tech support. I can see we've got Derrick Sage, Jackie Knight, Carol Parker, and Barbara Martin online as well. So welcome to you all. I have apologies from Anne and the Mayor and Mayor Webber. So I call for, I'll move that. Alan, would you like to second that one?
I will second that.
Okay, thank you. Carried. There are no late items. I can't believe there's any declarations of interest, Alan, but if you have any, shout now.
Not from a workshop item, no.
No, great, thank you. There's no public excluded items. I haven't got anyone who's speaking public forum. There's no presentations. Getting through this quite quickly, aren't we? So now we need to move the receipt of the minutes from the meeting held on 22nd of June 21. I'll move those.
And I'll second, sir.
Thank you. Carried. There's no reports. So now I'll move that we suspend standing orders for the purpose of holding a workshop.
I will second that, Mr. Chair.
Right. Thank you very much. So we have, in order, we've got Pippa, Derek, Jackie, Carol, and Barbara. I see that Pippa's not on, so we'll just put that to one side, and we'll move straight to Derrick. Derrick Sage is, among other things, on the Omokura Community Board, but he has a lot more background in the medical world. So I'll let him introduce himself properly and introduce and talk to us about the medical hub. Okay, over to you, Derrick.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I've had problems with the microphone with this. I better start by checking that before I speak for a minute and get flagged down. So I can see you're trying to work this with the efficiency of the Makaroa Community Board. but that aside, yeah, I'm on the community board in Makaroa, and I'm also the clinical director for emergency medicine for the Bay of Plenty District Health Board. And just so that you got my background, I am a specialist in emergency medicine, although I've had training in both the surgical and physicians colleges, from which I hold fellowships. So I'm rather broad-based, and for my sins, I've also spent time working within public health unit in the United Kingdom in designing and commissioning services during the transformations that occurred in the late 90s in the UK. So I do have a fairly broad remit. So I'm not a usual emergency specialist in that sense. And the reason for me addressing you guys today is really something that is across all of those domains, and also as a member of the local community, and that is to talk roughly around some of the opportunities that the health reform will create for our locality in the coming future. And one of those things is around the development of locality hubs. So the purpose behind this is that healthcare as we know it and is delivered is taken away from the hospital and brought closer to the community. And within that, there's an opportunity for greater ownership by the community. Now, the district health boards, dare I say it as an experiment, had elected health board members on the basis that that would create some sort of locality flavour to government policy. So it was suited for the locality. But I can tell you, for working for 20 years within the system, it was an abysmal failure. I'd be controversial in saying it, but I don't care. It basically feathered political interests locally for those who got elected, and it did not in any manner or form include the community in the development of services or the provision of those services. Now, so my interest is that it actually really got sparked by the fact of after hours care and urgent care for the community. And it was just basically your choice was the emergency department or go to Second Avenue at present time. And then I realized that wearing my hat of experience from previously that, there's a wider remit of services that could be provided closer to home. That included a lot of outpatient services, diagnostics, and the provision of other community services. There was also a disconnect to a great degree between voluntary groups who are providing health and welfare, social welfare for the local communities, and also traditional primary care. They weren't very well, or they haven't been as very well coordinated as they could be. Now, sitting within my sort of experience in local council and speaking around, there is a level at which local government is also responsible for the health and welfare of their community. And therefore there is a synergy between the two. And I noted also that, in Amokoroa, we had built a pavilion to provide sporting facilities, etc., at Western Avenue, and that was a community endeavour, and that wasn't, it was supported by local government, by the council, but it was actually a community-driven project. And moving forward with the locality hubs, the idea is that you have a wonderful opportunity bringing everyone together, both organised groups from primary care and the DHB, but bring together community groups, locally, everyone to design something that would be suited for the community over in your part of the world. Now, when I say that, it is my part of the world, because as far as I'm concerned, Amokoroa moving out beyond Kati is one district or hub. And you could end up with private interests having drawn everything into Amokoroa. And I live in Amokoroa, and I can tell you it's not the best place to put it all. It'll be driven by the dollar and not by the health need of the community. The community needs to have more of a say, and it should be further over towards Kati, if not Kati and beyond, where you have a hub that can serve a wider community, including Amokoroa, because I'm sure it'll be easier for me to drive to Kati, for example, than to Taronga Hospital to get services. And, I've been speaking with people in the hospital, and I know outpatients, a colleague of mine, Jake, who runs the outpatients, is saying that, there's lots of the services are looking to move their outpatients out to the community because the hospital is just jammed and there's no space. So you could immediately get a lot of services taken out in that direction towards you guys and away from Taronga, that would serve the community, less traveling, closer, convenient. And really speaking, that's just one aspect of it. The other bits I've been looking into is the development of other kinds of workforce. Nursing workforce has a massive potential to be developed. I'm training up nurse practitioners in my department, and I've got connections back in the UK where nurses are operating at the levels that doctors are operating at historically. And you could have people who are living locally, nurses, who could be running facilities and assisting in all of this and driving it. And it drives the cost down as well of all of this stuff to be delivered locally. So, it's about getting lots of people who have an interest in molding the future together to have a conversation and say, what would work for us in this part of the world? What are our needs? What would be the way to deliver this to us? And then you can talk about facilities and link in all the services so that you get maximum efficiency. So the cost to the consumer at the end of this can be minimized greatly in terms of time and money and distress, really, because to be honest with you, to get, say, if you come over from your territory to the hospital at 10 o'clock on Sunday night and you had an urgent need, but you then need to go home, getting home is a massive problem. You know, I honestly talk to people who are in the department and have to just say, I'm terribly sorry. I know this could be better. So there is an opportunity. So what I'm looking for is the interest locally, both at local government, any interest groups, you know, primary cares exists to get there. This is to me, this is a social enterprise. I'm not interested in the dollar, okay? I am not talking about this because there is absolutely no money value in this to me as an individual, one way directly or indirectly. This is about me looking at our future. And we do have a demographic that needs to be serviced. And we do have a particularly aging group, although I might have a self-interest there because I am getting older. But, you know, there is that demographic that needs to have their needs met. And currently, if I was to put it, it sucks. Okay. This is outdated. Everything we do is outdated. It is inefficient. And it works around a lot of systems that are designed for people who want to make money and doctors who don't want to change the way they practice. And I say that as a doctor, but I can say that because I see it around me. But here's your chance. Okay, a year ago, the government decided to make these changes. We were told it'll be a 3-year project. A year on, all I see is, you know, advertisement for medical hub in Amokaroa or in Tapuna or over at Papamoa. And I'm thinking, well, this isn't what the community wants. This is what businessmen are getting together and deciding that they want to have an opportunity. So you'll just get the same old stuff served up at the same cost, if not more.
Yeah. Derrick, can I ask you what exactly is the government offering here? Is it are they funding it, or how many of these hubs are they envisaging? Is it every town gets one, or every region, or every district?
So interestingly, for what would be territorially the Bay of Plenty District Health Board, you'd be looking at one over in the east, which would be based around the Whakatane-Opotiki area. And then you're actually looking at 3 others. Now, to me, one would be over towards Tapuki side, and one would be over Kati and beyond. So then where they decide the other one for the hub is entirely up to what the population, you know, decides. But I have more experience of those 2 sides of the bay. So so my purpose here is that we need to get together. We need to have this conversation. We need to have this conversation soon. We even have to get into bed with business because they will provide some of this for us. But we should drive it, not them.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the way it goes. And the bit that sparked me recently was not something on this side, but something on the other side, is when I heard that there was just a couple of units left for the Papamoa project, and Tapuki and beyond were looking at stuff. And I went to the planning and funding unit of the DHB and found that, you know, that they didn't have as much awareness as should have been. And I also then asked about that, and they said, well, maybe we should try the market out. Well, the market's going to be determined by these guys who've got their foot in the door already, right? So, you know, on this side, it's similar. You know, you really have to say, look, we've got to get ourselves organized. You know, we could probably get together and work with local government and get facilities and all this stuff done and get something much better for us locally. But you're going to have to organize yourselves and get together and bring all common needs together and service your local community.
Yeah. And Derek, who is proposed to pay for these? Is it central government or is it DHB?
So central government will pay for a chunk of it, because basically, if you think about it, planning and funding have to commission services. Okay, so if you're involved in designing and offering up a model, right, they will look at that, and they will actually look at favorably something that is designed by local people for their local needs.
So that was DHB, Derek. I didn't catch it.
Planning and funding belongs to the DHB side of things.
Yeah, okay.
But there'll always be a planning and funding unit, regardless of the change of structure, because, you know, there has to be someone who pays and commissions. And so that will still be regionalized. But nevertheless, our communities are already well established.
Mm. Alan, did you want to ask any questions or?
Basically, no. You've hit on the main ones as to basically who's paying, how that funding would be, and where it's driven. I personally I like it, and it's part of where I see things probably needing to develop further in our area, because Tauranga is so difficult to get into. And in fact, just today I had offers for an appointment with a healthcare outfit, and they wanted me to be there at 5 o'clock tomorrow. You know, not a very good time for somebody that lives basically way out here to get into Tauranga and have an appointment. So you can see so many very simple benefits straight away that people will be more inclined to use services and feel comfy, I think, within their community. So I just like the idea, full stop. And as far as questions go, yeah, it was where, and you've pretty well covered that you could see how there's 4 corners potentially in there, or 4 sites, and where it's paying. I think my question is, so what's our next move, Derek?
Okay, well, I'll just elaborate a little bit more on the who's paying. So the DHB will pay a substantial amount. You will get, in order to make this work, you will have to go to the community and decide, like with the Amokoroa Pavilion, if there was facilities, whether they wanted to raise funds through various forms. I know from speaking with Gary Webber that, you know, if we've engaged everyone across the board, including the iwi, we will be looked upon favorably by the district council for whatever we need to develop, and they will facilitate. And they've been really helpful with the pavilion in Western Avenue. So I know that, you know, if it's a social venture, they'll be very keen to help us with it. So I'll cover that bit off. Where next? So I got the ear of the CEO of the District Health Board, and also engaged with planning and funding. Really speaking, what I need to know is that if you guys know and can send me details of any interested groups of any sort, whether they're voluntary groups, whether they are, you know, people who have influence, you know, wealthy benefactors, you know, anybody that is interested in making the difference, and can have some sort of influence, either in a political sense, or if they have an influence in the way of, you know, they are part of you know, a voluntary organization. I will have to involve the PHO, but I don't know what the future of the PHO will be. And I'd like to think that if you guys got something really well structured, you would take over that role anyway. So you'd lose the cost of the PHO's running, because they tend to look at things very commercially. and that's not how I look at it.
Yeah. Derrick, one thing that strikes me is that at the moment, local government is going through the future for local government reforms. Well, the central government is thinking about those, and we're being asked for our opinions. And one of the areas there for consideration is healthcare in perhaps more of a broader sense of well-being. And I think the figure was something like 80% of health outcomes are not directly related to medical interventions. You know, it's lifestyle and local care and that kind of thing.
That's
so
right.
And so how I just wonder how much integration there is between the future for local government reforms and the health reforms, and whether they're actually talking to each other.
So use the opportunity, because basically when you engage between something like this project, and it involves local government as well, and it involves a lot of voluntary agencies, you start to get a greater coordination of planning around what is good, what should we do, if in the health sector, and local government, what's the plan, where's our strategic direction, and what do we want to do locally, because it'll influence the way you spend your money, in terms, in fairness, if you've got an aging population and their mobility isn't as great, okay, council then will be looking to enable those individuals to have a full and active life, despite the fact that that might mean you spend money on some ramps somewhere, or do you know what I mean? So, but you would have that linked within your hub, because if you're talking to each other frequently, if you're linked to each other frequently, then you will provide a complete spectrum from birth all the way through to ultimately death, and advanced planning of your New Zealand is fairly progressive in that sense. So you've got an opportunity. I can't sell you the vision, okay, as in this is what it will look like. All I can tell you there is an opportunity. Don't throw it away, right? Let's do something.
Great. Well, thank you, Derrick. If there's no more comments, we'll move on to the next person. But thank you, and we'll definitely consider that at the reconvened meeting. So the process is that we'll have a reconvened Zoom meeting where we'll work out what recommendations to make and what resolutions to put.
So just bear in mind what I'm looking for. Is that you support this? Who are the people you think that I need to know about, so I can go away and arrange a second phase to this conversation, if that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, Derrick.
I will depart and leave you guys to it.
Okay.
Workshop.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Derrick. Really good choreo. So thank you.
Yeah.
So we'll now move on to Jackie Knight of Katikati, who I believe wants to talk about cycleways.
Yes. Well, while I've got there, I could carry on with a few other projects too, James, because I'm quite passionate about Katikati. But yeah, so just a little bit of history. In 2012, we formed a relationship with council with an MOU to do walk and cycleways in Katikati, with an aim to be joining up Makaroa and Waihī Beach and linking us through. So we've made some progress, and at times we go forwards, back, sideways, which I can appreciate. People across the district, that's quite widespread, and we're not always the focus, but as people who know me know, Katikati is the focus, and we should be the most important region in the Western Bay of Plenty. But there are a couple of things that we are working on. One of them is a potential boardwalk across the harbour margin from Somerset to Pukakura Road. So we just had some editorial a couple of years ago in the Advertiser about it, and someone donated 30,000 towards the cost of the resource consent, which is what it cost then, but of course now it costs a lot more, and we're still working through the exit point of that, but it would be quite an amazing project and a very good linking project to get the aim to get the cycle walkways right around the peninsula of Katikati. So we're chipping away with that. Peter Watson's got a meeting with one of the landowners when he gets back from annual leave in March, so that's not too far away. We're also looking at the extension of a decent path from the Birdwalk to Somerset, and at the moment, this has been going for a couple of years, but at the moment it's sitting with comms waiting to go out for some public consultation. So I know Luke's got all the information ready to go as soon as he can get onto that workload. But just from a little personal frustration point of view, it's been a couple of years, but you know, good things take time and it's worthwhile waiting. Another one which is going to be quite a game changer is the connection of the two woodland roads, Waihī Woodland Road and Katikati Woodland Road. There's a paper road that goes between the two of them. And this has the potential to link us up to the Hauraki Rail Trail through Waitawhata and the back of Waihī. There are a couple of options. I know Gary Ellis is involved with working out quite how we can get through perhaps some other paper roads linking into Katikati to stay off the state highway. It is ultimately best to have a coastal route. I think everyone would appreciate a coastal route from Waihī Beach to Amakoroa, but the logistics of that is pretty challenging with the amount of landowners involved. So realistically, to try and get something, I mean, my dream is for Caddy College and primary school kids to be able to bike out to Waihī Beach and spend a couple of nights at a camping ground and bike back again would be absolutely amazing. But hopefully in my lifetime, not too sure. Even if some of it is along the state highway corridor, however we can make it work. But these woodland roads connections do have a bit of promise there, particularly with linking onto the Hauraki Rail Trail and joining onto the Hauraki District Council side, which their side is actually quite straightforward. It's a little bit more challenging on the Western Bay District because of where the paper road goes through private landowner. So the other big thing that I know I'm pushing it uphill on is the Thompson's track up and over to the Matamata Piakau District Council area, because if we could get that somehow redesignated, I'm not sure. The potential is massive, because then we've got a whole northern Kaimai loop track, which could be quite a cycle trail of significance for us, particularly with the work that we're doing in Waitawhata Reserve and the mountain bike and horse riding tracks. It just all seems to be lining up if we can just get the right momentum and everybody working to my plan, which I know doesn't always work, but you know, I'm always hopeful. So yeah, there is lots of potential. Jeff Cannon's working with the Woodland Roads projects, and I think he's just waiting for some next stage tick from Gary Ellis to move forward on that one. So we are getting there. I'm extremely passionate. It's been 10 years in the making. It's something I would really like to see happen. We did a little bike ride event on Saturday, and we did a 15k ride and a 5k ride, and I went on the 5k ride and people were saying, oh, I never realized this path was here or that path was here. You know, there's so much for locals to appreciate and get out and enjoy walking and cycling. It's not all about biking, but yeah, it's just hard work.
Yeah.
Hard work, exclamation mark, full stop.
And that's just the cycling, Jackie.
That's just the cycling. So yeah, but no, and Thompson's track seriously would be really good. There's a lot of potential up there for getting up and over, getting rid of the four-wheel drive guys, the iwi stories, the historical routes, and it then draws down into Waitawhata Reserve, where we're doing amazing things in there. The mountain bike tracks are getting built. The car parks are fantastic. Thank you, Scott. It's been amazing with your help. And we've got another guy, Damon, who's just like the bee's knees. For someone volunteering his time in the community, he's doing amazing stuff. So things are really going ahead well there, and it'll be exciting when we can open that up to the public and really promote it as something destinational in Katikati, which is what it's really all about.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Jackie, I would like to bring in Scott at this point, and I just wonder if he has any updates that he'd like to share, or I'll leave it open to him what he can share. I guess some of it might be sensitive, but if you can give some insight, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, James. I'll just quickly whip through most of those routes, Jackie, that you talked about. The one across the Te Pukakura Road from the end of Somerset there, it's something that's going back a very long time now, and I think Peter's involved in that, so I can't really give you any update on that because he's probably the one with the current kind of knowledge as to where that's at sitting there. But yeah, good luck with progressing a resource consent applications. All I can say, it's a fraught process. There's you need a lot of support from the iwi to get something like that through these days, given where it sits and the whole thing around climate change, something to be aware of. So just on a similar related project, the Athenry Crossing one, that's involving a lot of consultancy reports and studies and all sorts of things going on. So it's not a simple task to get a trail across a body of water. It's there's a lot involved. So moving on from that one, I think the next one is you talked about the Yeoman Walkway connection through to the end of Park Road. Would that be right? That one? Yeah, so the comms, Luke is working up a comms plan at the moment on them. We've been assisting with that while Peter's been away. And there may be even something that goes out very soon in the next few days on that. So there'll be a bit of a communication plan going out to let people know what kind of feedback we want from people, so that we can manage expectations, because as you know, there is a group in the community that is hell-bent on any kind of improvements happening to that trail. Yet the wider community, I think, is supporting it. So there's going to be some consultation challenges ahead, I think, on that one. But we'll just keep progressing it. What was the other one you mentioned? Waitikoko, yeah, it's going really well. Pleased to report that's it's going great. Although our main contractor, site foreman, is currently isolating at home due to COVID, so hopefully that doesn't hold things up too much. And the idea around getting over Thompson's Track Road, yeah, fantastic vision idea on that. I think there's a lot more thinking and work and talking to people that has to happen as part of all that going forward. So, and finally on the other one that Jeff's working on, Woodland Road. Yeah. I was just talking to him today. Sounds like his report is imminent. Okay, the report that he was doing on that. So I have no idea what that shows or has. We didn't really talk about it, but he told me that it's almost there. Well, virtually there, and we're just So that's where we're on that. So who knows?
That's great. Yeah. And Scott, can I just check with Thompson's Track? There is some money in the LTP, isn't there, for feasibility study?
Yes.
Can you check which year that is?
Yes, I think it's from memory, it's about $20,000, I think. And I'd need to check, but I had a funny feeling, was that in the current year, or had they been pushed into next year? I'd have to check. It's
in the short to medium term, I think.
Yeah. So I'd have to check. I'd have to check on the timing of that. But yeah, you're right. There is a not far, Jackie. It's
Scott, as you know, I have got patience most of the time. Sometimes it just wears a little thin.
Oh well, we do the best. We do the best we can, and we know that we always end up with good outcomes and working through with the community. So kind of that's what you just got to hang on to, and we'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I just want to reiterate, as James knows, we do have some quite grandiose plans for Katikati-Waihī and Thompson's Track. And, you know, if you don't dream really big, you don't go anywhere, do you? So we are wanting to install a gondola to the top of the Kaimai Ranges, and we are wanting to highlight the plane crash site and hook that in with the Western Bay Museum and have tours that can go up Thompson's Track either by gondola or, you know, golf cart, something, trek along to the plane site crash, come back, coffee cart, I don't know, at the top. But you've got to dream big, don't you? Otherwise you don't go anywhere.
I see those dollar signs, Jackie. And
look, I've been quoted $5 million for a gondola. I'm sure we can find 5 million. It's not that big, is it?
Yeah, I think John, there's a yes from John there. I could see.
Yep. I can see him nodding. Yep.
We could just sell the day fume pool, eh, Barb?
Oh no, can't do that.
Well, let's not go there. Okay, Jackie, thank you Sue for that. Alan, did you have any other comments you wanted to make?
Yeah, just a query as to how's our relationship then about this on the other side with Matamata Piako?
I know there have been stakeholder meetings. I haven't been to the last couple. I know Peter Watson's been involved. I think they're okay, but they're probably not as passionate as I am. So they need to be jollied along a little bit to see the real value in it. But I think quite early days. Where the passion and drive is coming from is from the Karaga dieback, the local iwi protecting the forests up there. Unfortunately, I'm probably looking at more of a, well, not unfortunately, but I am looking at more of a tourist operation and economic development. So I don't quite know how the two of us will intertwine, but I think from this side, the drive is more around protecting the karis, looking after the forest than economic. But, you know, we can work together.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie.
No worries.
We'll take all those on board and appreciate your giving an update on that. So we'll now move on to Carol Parker, who's going to update us on Abbeyfield. So you got the take yourself off mute, Carol. Oh, you're still on mute.
Sorry.
There we are. All good.
Oh, for those of you who don't know, that I'm the chairperson of Abbeyfield Western Bay of Plenty, and I'd like to thank you for allowing me to update you on where we're at. In case you're unaware, an Abbeyfield house provides affordable, secure, independent living in a supported, safe, thriving and caring environment. And our Abbeyfield for people 65 and over, our Abbeyfield will cater for 14 people. They will have their own ensuite bed sit with shared communal areas. There will be a paid housekeeper who will provide 2 meals a day, and they're the only one who is paid is the housekeeper. The residents would pay a rental, which was within their superannuation, still leave them sufficient to live, and it'll cover all their costs for living in the house. So we're a not-for-profit organisation, and we've got no religious affiliations, which has been a concern for some people. And we're an incorporated society with charitable status. Despite COVID, we've been really thrilled to be continue progressing, and we've bought our section in Wills Road. It's a really good size section which will cater for a 14-unit house, and we're fortunate that the vendor sold it to us at an extremely discounted price. Without it, in this climate, we'd never been able to secure the section. If you're travelling in Wills Road, going that way, you can always find it. It's got a big sign out the front which tells you what it's for. So we've now contracted Frank Rangers as our project manager, and he's an experienced building project manager. He's worked on numerous Abbeyfield houses throughout New Zealand, so he knows about the concept and what they're all about, which has been really beneficial. And the good thing, although he's Auckland based, he has got family in Katikati, so he has an allegiance to us, which is really good. So we're currently finalising the architectural brief, and from there we'll be looking to approach a couple of companies to discuss developing our concept plan and eventually the building itself. Once we have those plans, we'll be looking to ramp out our our plans for sourcing the funding for the build. We've got several big philanthropic trusts that are keen to support us, as well as we've got a lot of other people that are keen to be there for us. And we know that we can gain a mortgage. We've already had indication from a charitable trust that provides mortgages for these sort of things, that they'd be prepared to supply it. And we can meet mortgage payments within the budget from the income. Several of our team have met with the Western Bay of Plenty District Council building pre-lodgement team, who were really supportive and positive, and we really welcomed their input because they helped address a lot of the things we had that we were wondering about, like resource consents, development engineering, wastewater and parking requirements, among a lot of other issues. And that's been helpful for us when we've developed our brief. Our strategic team has developed a business plan, and we're working alongside the project manager as we progress through the stages to build the house. We've also got a dedicated fundraising team, which in these last 2 years has been really difficult to do fundraising, as I'm sure several people will know. We have a golf tournament which has been postponed twice now, but we're looking, fingers crossed, it's actually going to happen in April this time. It's really well supported with people wanting to play, and we've had huge numbers of sponsorship. We just need it to happen. We've also sold 11 paintings online. We've had an online art auction, and we've done really well with that. Omakaroa and Katikati artists have donated most of them. We've also got a piece of Jacinda Ardern's doodle by her that we've got up for sale. It's not attracting as much of attention as you may have thought. No comment on that.
You're too late for that, Carol.
But if you're interested in it, just give me a call and I can give you the link. We also have a couple of other fundraising on the go, and we're looking at several major fundraisers, but it will be towards the end of this year. We're just hoping by then COVID's gone and disappeared, and we can do some big fundraising that'll get us into the next stage. We have been exceptionally grateful. We've had numerous people donate funding to us, including a couple from Omakaroa who recently donated $10,000, which was just mind-blowing to have them just contact and say, what's your bank account? Can we pop this money in there? So that was great. And we've received positive feedback and support from the Katikati Lions and Rotary, and they're we're having discussions about ongoing support with them, which is great. So we see this building going on in 3 stages. The first stage is, of course, the section, developing the concept, formalising the relationship with the builders, and going to that point where we're ready to move forward. The next stage will be raising the funds for the build. And we've got lots of avenues and ways that we've been exploring how we can do that. So, and that includes things like fundraising, donations, philanthropic trusts, and also pro bono services that people are prepared to provide us for the build. Stage will be the actual building of the house and the landscaping of the grounds, and obviously people moving in. We continue to receive strong support from lots of people, companies. There's been quite a few groups that we've consulted with that have helped us develop our concepts and where we're going. So that's been really good. The unfortunate thing is every time we go out and talk to people or anything in the newspaper is we get people ringing us desperate to make an application to go into the house. And that's really sad to have to tell them that you're probably looking for a couple of years yet before that can happen, because most of them, when they ring, are desperate. There was one who rang who was having to move out of the house that he'd rented for a long time, for a couple of years, and he had nowhere else to go. So it's really very hard. We're affiliated to Abbeyfield, New Zealand, and they also have 14 other houses affiliated, so they're well geared to be able to provide us with support and processes, and they help mentor with us and work through what we need to do. At this stage, we're looking to connect with individuals, agencies and groups that are able to assist us with raising the funds for the build. It could be in a variety of ways that people can do that. And we're happy to sit down with anyone that's keen to see that concept happen. And there's a lot of people who go, that really would have worked for my mum or my dad or whoever it is that they have, that would have been well suited for that sort of accommodation. We've been really appreciative so far of the support that we've had from council, and particularly from council staff, as well as elected members, that's been really helpful to be able to talk to people and get their advice and their support. And we see that will be continuing. So at this stage, we're progressing. We just need some things to settle down, and we'll move into the next stage. And I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Thank you, Carol. Can I just start off by asking you, if all was going well, when do you think you'll start the build, and when do you think it'll be completed?
So what we've been told is if we could get $1 million in the bank account, then we have philanthropic trusts and other funders who are prepared to step on board, but they would need to see that commitment first. So that's our priority. I guess it's hard to say how soon we can get that money, but definitely we're having conversations also with government and other people as well about getting that. So we would like to think that probably within 2 years we start the build. And I would say it will probably take a year to build.
Okay, no, that's good. One thing I'd perhaps like to highlight is that we've got an annual plan meeting on the 8th of March, just in a week's time, and on the agenda there is we're approving for consultation the annual plan and fees and charges and so on, and in that is 100% reduction on FinCos for community housing projects and other organisations that I think you would probably fall under, where you're providing housing for the community and not on a sort of profitable basis. So when that goes out in a week's time, you may wish to submit and do something along those lines.
Because it's little bits and pieces like that are really going to make a difference to us getting where we need to go. So that's fabulous. Thanks. I certainly will be checking up on that.
Yeah, and just to be clear, you pay one household equivalent FinCo on the first unit, and then the rest are the 100% reduction. So that's what's proposed anyway. So yeah.
Fantastic. Please support it, everyone that can support it.
Alan, did you want to just come in?
Yeah, just thanks, Carol. I'm really quite excited about the whole concept. And just really wish you the best. James has asked the questions really that I was interested in asking, so I feel informed to this point. Good luck and keep at it.
Thank you. We will. We've got a
and
really
I see John's got he's unmuted. So did you want to add anything, John?
Just well done, really, Carol. I've been lucky enough to be involved in a few Abbey Field projects over the years, and I think the model's fantastic. One of the things you didn't touch on, and I'm sure just because you didn't, was demand. I heard you say that you're getting unsolicited calls from people that want to come in. But I'm just wondering whether you actually have done any work around the demand for the 14 units.
Yes, I guess what we've done is we have done some research, and we do know the needs of the demand for housing for the 65 plus. And I know that council's done some really good research around those needs and everything and put those out. I think what would be fair to say there's at least 6 or 7 people on a waiting list for us at the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, yeah, so we have to be cautious that we don't say to people, tell us if you want to move into an Abbey Field house, because that sort of puts us under pressure. And I know that, for an example, Nelson has got 2 Abbey Field houses. They closed their waiting list because what happened is people were just desperate and they had to wait, like months and months to get into the house. And it was just terrible for them to think that they were waiting to do this fabulous thing and move into this fabulous place, and then it was just never happening. So we're cautious how we manage that.
I know Frank Rengies, you're in great hands with him as your project manager, and if he's involved, I can imagine who's behind that in terms of some of the philanthropic people you're talking to, so I'm sure it's going to work very well.
You'll be interested to know he did mention that you were over this way, and he was pleased to see where you were.
yeah, we've done some work together. He's good. He's very good.
Yes, he is.
Well done. Cool.
Great. Well, there's some good connection there. So thank you, Carol, and good luck with the fundraising, I guess, and hopefully council can carry on working productively with you to make it a reality.
I'm sure they will. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Gail. Okay, so lastly, I'll move to Barbara and Graham, who are going to talk to us about the Dave Hume pool. So over to you, Barbara.
Thank you, James, for the opportunity. So for us, I guess too, it is around just giving you an update of what's happening at the pool. I think I totally agree with what Jackie's saying. If you don't think big, you'll never get anything. So that's good. And we've sort of been thinking big for quite a long time. And as you as councillors will know, we've already got some money on the table to start getting the project underway. So the next step is around the fact that we also have quite a big fundraising project ahead of us. And because Graham has actually been more closely involved with that side of things, I'll actually let him speak to that to give you the update on where we are with the fundraising.
Thanks, Barbara. So first of all, on behalf of the Trust, I think it's important we acknowledge the Council and in particular Scott and Peter for their support and contribution over the last couple of years. It's been a process and it's been a challenge, but it's also good to work in a non-adversarial, in fact, a fairly supportive environment. So Scott, Senior there, thanks very much. We acknowledge it and it's greatly appreciated. In terms of the fundraising, the project's in the facility around 2.6 there take in terms of millions. The council have contributed 1.34. So the trust is vigorously looking for the balance. In saying that, we have every confidence that we will achieve it with a desired construction date sometime mid next year. The sponsors we've spoken to have been all very, very receptive. And in fact, the interesting point is not just the roof that they're really resonating with, but it's the fact that it's a swim environment, it's a learning environment, it's for coaching, and it's also for the surf club. So that rings very, very true in terms of the ears of our potential parties that we're talking to. So as I've indicated, we're very confident that we'll achieve that funding in time.
So we've been, Graham's spoken to Bay Trust. We're meeting with Paula Hudson from TECT tomorrow. We've also had communications with our local groups like Lions and Rotary. So it's just a case of getting everybody on board. And Peter Alsop, who's our facility manager, of course, he does a wonderful job there. He has also received a lot of letters of support from pool users. For example, Masters, the college, the primary school, the Surf Life Saving Club. So they're coming out strongly in support of it. And he's also asking for support for any other pool users who are coming into the pool at the moment. So we're quite excited because we feel like we've got closer to having a cover over that pool for the first time in many, many years, since it was built in 1973, in fact. And I have to just say it was quite funny, really, because I was hunting through some stuff at home one day, totally unrelated to the pool, found a clipping from a newspaper from 2000, and it was talking about developments at the swimming pool and how a person had been employed and all of the activities that were going underway. And I'm thinking, gosh, that was 22 years ago and we're still doing the same things. And who was in the picture in the paper but my daughter in the swimming pool? So that was quite funny to see. But it's really good. I concur with Graham about the support that we're getting from council to feel like we finally got it past the point of sort of like maybe, but it's not a maybe, but it is going to happen. It's just a question of when. Of course, it's not going to happen in 2022. One thing that has happened for us, of course, this year is that we do have a terrible surface in the swimming pool, and it was due to be repainted right now. In fact, we were due to close yesterday or the day before in order for it to be painted. So that hasn't gone ahead because council, and we agree with them, would like to bundle up the concept of what we do with the pool liner in with how we do the cover of the pool as well, because we'd quite like to see it, rather than being painted, we'd like to see it with a proper liner. The liner has a far greater life for the pool, and it will fit in nicely with having the pool covered as well. So at the moment we're putting up with blotchy lines and everything else. It doesn't affect our ability to swim in a very nice pool environment, but you just can't see the lines on the bottom. So that's all good. But yeah, we have there are several options on the table, and Scott's got stuff underway of what the next step in the process would be, working with Exist as a consultant and as how we go about the process. And that all seems to be working quite successfully, and we're very happy with the progress so far. So we're just really looking forward to seeing something happen in 2023.
So yeah, Barbara, I was interested to see the post on Facebook today, actually, seeking support for the cover. And wanting to get signatures by the 25th of March. And I was just wondering what the significance of that was, and was that support designed to get to help with fundraising, or what was the purpose of that?
I'm not sure what the significance is around the date, other than the fact that I think it's my parents' wedding anniversary, but that's irrelevant. I'm not sure of the significance of the date. Basically, yes, it is. The more support we have to show funders, the easier our job will be to get those people across the line for the amount of money that we're actually wanting from them.
Actually, James, I've just tweaked what the deadline is with the date. We want to have a presentation all ticked off in a nice row for when we go to TECT. So that gives us a week prior to that presentation.
Right, okay.
So that'll explain that. But one other point that hasn't been highlighted in terms of us, what the Trust has done, and something I believe very, very successfully, is the introduction of our own swim school, Splash. And over the last 2 years, we've contracted that out, and it's become very, shall I say, unsuccessful. The Trust has taken it on itself to develop its own swim school, and under the guidance of one of the trustees, Rachel has delivered a phenomenal swim school that has something like 100 students in it already. And so if you multiply that over 12 months of use, that's significant, and it then lends the pool into the ability to have squad swimming and so forth. So it really has been an energetic group of trustees that are driving this. So
yeah. Even if we're a small group, we're a very energetic group, so that's good. Yeah, Rochelle's done a wonderful job, and it's a good revenue stream for the pool, and that's what's just as, it's as important as anything else, because we've got to justify our existence, and that's a good way of doing it. We know that there are it's becoming more and more difficult to engage with Katikati College students as far as swimming is concerned. It's nothing to do with the college itself. That's to do with what teenagers are like these days, for want of a better description. But we really perceive that with the swim school and the development of our relationship with the Katikati Primary School, that it gives us an opportunity to really grow that learn to swim concept, rather than focusing on activities that 16 and 17-year-olds might do in the pool, but rather what the preschool to 12-year-olds will do in the swimming pool. So it's a really good opportunity for us to grow that area if we're open all year round.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Is there anything that that council can do to help? I mean, I hear that you're pleased with the staff support, so I'm really pleased to hear that. But is there anything else that you can think of now while John's listening, and Scott?
And nice to meet you, John, albeit by Zoom. We were hoping to do that at our AGM last year, but that didn't quite happen. I'm not sure that there is, because I think the ball is rolling on all sorts of different things, and it's just working our way through the process. And the fundraising things are something that we have to work on from our end. Yeah, I think we're happy that the ball is rolling along quite smoothly at this point in time.
I think, James, if I can cut in there, is that we as a trust have some fairly strong views as to where we want and what we want to achieve. And once again, Scott and Peter have taken that on board. And as we've emphasised, that we're raising a good 50% of the contribution, and it's acknowledged that we have an equal right in terms of outcomes. So we want a product that's going to stand the test of time. It's whilst we hear about 20 years before new infrastructure might be set up, what we're planning or proposing has got the legs and the ability to last much longer than that. So we're conscious that it's a cost to the ratepayers, but it's got to derive a benefit to the community too in a greater sense.
Yeah, and just to ask you, do you have a sense whether because construction costs are rising so fast at the moment, do you see the target running away from you at all, or going up significantly?
I don't. I think we're reasonably confident where we are. We've got a provision for a bit of seepage, but in talking to the one party we have a particular interest in, they assure us that they're reasonably comfortable where we are. When the trust first looked at it, we looked at a rate of exchange, I think, of 0.65. Unless something's happened with Ukraine, it's still hanging around about 0.65. So as long as the price of aluminium and construction doesn't go up dramatically, obviously to counter that, James, the sooner decisions made, the better. Otherwise, there's going to be that prevailing risk and some headwinds in front of us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Alan, did you want to ask anything?
No, basically, it's great to hear that the swimming school, is going well, though, and this summer has been such a shocker that, again, if the community can't understand that this is just another little facet in, well, actually, probably a big facet in the security and the safety of our children, I don't know what's wrong with the community in a sense. So all the best to you with it. I really support it so strongly and wish you the best.
Ellen, you raised the point of children or the swim school, but the reality is when you go there, the cross-section of people and the diversity of where they come from is dramatic, and the age group during the day is quite phenomenal. There are many retired people there. In fact, the walkers will soon outwalk the swimmers. But people there today, and I was there today, were from Waihī Beach. We get people from Omakaroa. So it's not just locals that are participating at the pool.
Yeah.
And I have to say, quite right for pointing it out, because actually probably most of those that have drowned or been in big difficulties have not been children.
Yes.
Probably though that they haven't learned to swim, or they've been very confident in their lack of abilities that have shown up.
Yeah. Essentially now we have had people asking for adult swimming coaching, so that's something we'll consider in time.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Graham. Thank you, Barbara.
Thanks, John. Thanks.
So that's the end of our of the workshop section now. So what I'll move that we resume standing orders. If you'd like to second that, Alan.
And we'll say.
Okay, I think that's a carried. So what we'll do now, we'll adjourn the meeting until the reconvened meeting on the 15th of March, 1:30 via Zoom. So Alan, would you like to move that one that we adjourn? You're on mute, mate.
Mr. Chair, I would like to take the opportunity to move that we go into what was the word? Not
the meeting be adjourned until Tuesday, 15th of March.
Yeah, indeed.
And I'll second that, and I'll declare that carried. And with that, I won't close the meeting, but it is adjourned. And I wish you all a good evening, and thank you for being here and taking part.
Thank you, all of you. I really appreciate it.